Hello, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome. A big, heartfelt welcome to A Course in Miracles 365 Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza. And I've got a really, really hard hitting and fun show in store for you today. Oh, yeah. If you look at the description, you'll know that we're going to talk about sin. Shall we do that? Yes. We're going to talk about the concept, the idea of sin. We're also going to talk about the reality. In other words, there isn't any of sin and that concept. And well, if something in you gets triggered today, so be it. Yeah. If something in you gets provoked, if there is a thought provoking moment, if there are moments of doubt and questioning, so be it. Whatever comes up for you is meant to come up for you around this. And I just want to, as I often do, I just want to encourage you to sit with any doubt that comes up around these ideas today that we're going to talk about in a moment. I want to encourage you to sit with any questioning that may be coming to your mind. And I really hope that there's some of that coming to your mind. And I suspect, because you're watching this video on Enlightened World Network, that there is, and you've already become aware of some of the questioning. I invite anyone in any spiritual practice anywhere in the world, no matter what form that may take, no matter what that looks like, to question everything, literally everything. And not stopping short either, by the way. It doesn't do any good to question some things and not others, right? Because then you leave your habitual tendencies intact in the others. You leave your limiting beliefs intact in the others. You leave your judgment, your condemnation intact. Yeah. We leave that intact if we're selective with our questioning. So I invite you to question the foundations of every single thing that you now believe. Yes, nothing more, nothing less. Does that sound exciting? If it doesn't, that's all right. But maybe it does. And I'll tell you from experience, yes, that when we question literally everything, we get a lot of confirmation. Personally, in my own life, I've gotten a lot of relief. Relief, that's my word. A profound, reassuring, uplifting sense of relief that things that I was taught growing up didn't apply to me. They didn't serve me. And well, they never did, but it wasn't until I grew into an adult that I was able to really, truly process it. And A Course in Miracles has been instrumental in helping that. So, what idea are we even talking about? We're talking about lesson 93 in the workbook. Light and joy and peace abide in me. And that's a statement of the truth about ourselves. Light and joy and peace abide in me. Not darkness, not war, not ravages of conflict and self doubt, not sin. Light and joy and peace abide in each and every one of us. It is who we are. Now, we are many of us, and perhaps you were not. If you were not raised with the idea of sin and punishment and transgression being paramount in your life, then that is a happy occurrence, right? That you didn't have to slog through all that. I certainly had to slog through all that, and I know a lot of you did too, right? So no matter what tradition you grew up in, many of us are raised to think of ourselves as less than. We think of spirituality as God or a higher being or a higher power who knows more than we do, who's cooler than we are, more charismatic than we are, who can strike us down at whim, literally at the drop of a hat for transgressing against him, her, them, it, for doing something wrong. So, did you ever live in terror that you were going to anger God and be stricken down? Yeah. I know a lot of people who did. I know a lot of people who can relate to this experience. As we think in the world that we're less than, unworthy, and many of our world religious systems continue to perpetuate that belief that we are worthy of death. Yes, transgression, punishment, because we're bad. Now, what if that were not true? What my aim today is to invite you to consider the alternative. What if none of this were true? What if you were not bad? What if you were not unworthy? What if you were not deserving of certain death by thunderbolt? I mean, there are the people I know who were terrified to lie to their parents, not for legitimate reasons, because lying is not, it's not cool, right? But they were terrified to transgress in any way. They were terrified to track mud in the house, something more benign, right? They were terrified to have certain thoughts because they thought they would be punished by God, struck down. And they were blaspheming. What if it's not possible to do that? What if God had no ego to be offended? And what if you are not unworthy, but worthy? What if you are not chaos, but peace? What this lesson, which is lesson 93 in the workbook, is inviting you to do today is to entertain that idea. And I invite you to do that. I invite you to sit with the idea that there is no such thing as sin. Now, I don't expect that to necessarily go down with you. I don't expect it to necessarily resonate with you. But you're watching this. So my suspicion is that on some very deep level, you've already begun to question everything that you were told about yourself. This is good. A Course in Miracles aims to help us change our perception about who we are, about who others are, about the world, about everything. It's a shift in perception. And as you've seen, and as you may know from study of A Course in Miracles, a miracle is a shift in perception from fear-based thoughts to love-based thoughts. One is absolutely exactly identical to any other, whether it appears great or small. It's still a miracle if you're choosing love. That's what we do every moment of every day. We have the opportunity and the free will to choose love every moment of every day. That's the blanket invitation that's being issued to all of us here. What are the benefits? Well, if you see and you're able to have the experience of not being a sinner, not being unworthy, then there's a tremendous sense of reassurance with that. Makes sense that there would be, right? There's a tremendous sense of relief, and it's completely, 100% empowering. It was quite empowering for me to know that everyone who told me that when I was a kid was misinformed. quite simply. That never stuck with me and never resonated. And yeah, I mean, it's scary for a little kid to think that, okay, well, you're basically being told I'm scum. I'm scum, and God on high can punish me whenever he wants to. And it's always a he, right? And depicted as a white dude with a beard. you know, yeah. So I grew up in the United States. God was a he, a white dude with a beard, always with a beard, a big, long ZZ Top style beard, which was very interesting. Yeah. And in reality, God's beyond all images anyway, words, any concepts that we as human beings here possess. So yeah, it's kind of interesting and almost funny that God's depicted as a human being. Well, it's not, you know. And light and joy and peace abide in each and every one of us. So, as far as the practice period for today, what the workbook recommends is if you're unable to do a seated meditation and really take your time to reach the light and the joy and the peace that does abide in you and is your birthright, which we all want you to claim, be really, really kind of you to claim your own birthright. Yes. So please, that benefits the entire world. If you can do nothing else, then entertain this idea. Light and joy and peace abide in me. My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. That's an interesting statement, isn't it? My sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Sinlessness. God has no ego to be offended. There's no sin. There, I'll just spit that out. Now, do you have that experience? Well, maybe, maybe not. And if you don't believe me, that's perfectly fine. Question it. Remember, we've been talking about questioning. I like it. This is good. This is good. This is what spiritual practice is about. It is really quite all about self-inquiry. You should be asking the question, who am I? A couple of workbook lessons ago, the workbook raised the question, what am I? That's a good question. Who am I? What am I? Well, you're not a sinner. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. How is that possible? Well, love, God, extends love. It cannot extend something that it is not. I mean, same applies here in the world with human beings. You can't give what you don't possess. I mean, you can't hand out to somebody something that you don't have to hand out. Love extends itself. That's how we were created, by love extending its self. We can all do the math on this. Yes. If you're thinking that, yes, it's true. Love extends itself, and your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. There's no ego to be offended. So if there is, in fact, no ego to be offended, how can one transgress against another? One cannot be offended, ultimately. So these are ideas that may seem radical to you, and if they do, so be it. If they seem contradictory to your whole experience up to this very day, so be it. The workbook, as always, does not ask you to believe the idea. It asks you simply to show up and to consider it. And if you even just repeat today's idea several times or even once, that is a tremendous, tremendous boost to you. It's a tremendous boost to your spiritual growth and development. And it's a tremendous step along the road that we're all taking to awaken, or if you prefer, to reawaken to love, the truth of who we really are. So if all you can do is recite light and joy and peace abide in me, my sinlessness is guaranteed by God, then do that today. And know that that's the truth. And reach for that and feel it. The more you can viscerally, gut level, heart level, feel that, the more your experience is going to change and is going to change for the better. That is something that's really fun and it's really worth looking forward to. Okay, so as always, I love to hop on here and I'd love to see who has any questions or comments here today and who's joining me live. Stephanie, hi, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. And Monica, looks like Norma is here. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Yes, Stephanie, good morning from Arizona. Yeah, me too. Yes, I'm right here in Phoenix, Arizona, where the sun is shining. It's shining on a window, and that's part of the light that you see right here. And yeah, it's really, really wonderful. So, Monica, it looks like you've got a question. No thing is sin. So, A Course in Miracles, this is really a good question. So, what is sin? Well, it's nothing, right? A Course in Miracles just comes right out and says it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. God has no ego to be offended, and all is oneness. So if that is the case, there's no sin. It's a concept that we make up when we consider ourselves separate from other people and separate from God as well, right? So if you think you're separate from your fellow human beings, then you'll definitely conceive of God or your guides or your higher self as something other than who you are. The ego is this sense that we're all alone, running around, having a separate experience. In truth, that's not the case. Minds are joined. Yeah, we're all joined. We all literally are one. And that is not the experience that we always have. So sin's really an idea that we made up. And in my experience growing up, it was used as a mechanism of control. Let's be perfectly honest. Yeah. It was used as a mechanism of control. I was told all the time that God hates this, God hates that, God hates this behavior, and he loathes and abhors this behavior. You must not do that. Oh, no, no. Lots of proscriptions. Yeah. Proscribed behavior. Yes. And the punishment was death or illness or incurring the wrath of God, right? Love is not capable of hatred. If God has no ego to be offended, when one realizes and accepts that truth, then boom, all of those foundations of transgression and sin instantly vanish. They instantly vanish. It's a really wonderful question. So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'd love to talk about this. Norma, ok, Norma, si usted está aquí, yo hablo español, entonces favor de escribir en los comentarios una pregunta, si usted tiene una pregunta, voy a comentar en español. La emisión, claro, por supuesto, es en inglés al momento, pero hablo español también, ok? All right, so for the English speakers in there, we've got some Spanish-speaking listeners and viewers that have joined us, and thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this. I've invited all of the Spanish speakers, and if you're a French speaker, you could do this too in French. Leave a comment, let me know that you're here, and I will respond in Spanish or French. Okay, yeah, and all right. And thank you, Monica. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad the explanation is of help to you. And that's part of the reason why I'm here is because there are so many esoteric concepts, yeah, that A Course in Miracles presents, and a lot of spiritual traditions do too, right? That is really, really helpful to have this distilled for us into its essence so that it can be approachable. And that's what I aim to do, is to take an esoteric concept or esoteric concepts as they exist here in A Course in Miracles, and then just kind of make them accessible and actionable. That's one of the things I love about the workbook here in the course is it gives you actionable ideas, and it actually gives you activities, meditations to do. It gives you something to do. In other words, it's not something that you're simply expected to believe and mull around your entire human lifetime. And whether you believe it and maybe believe it at the end or maybe not, you're given something to do. It's practical. It's practical. And I love that. Okay, Norma de México. Muy bien. Si hay un comentario, por favor de avisarme que usted está aquí y contesto en español si hay una pregunta o cualquier cosa. Okay. Yeah. So let me know if you have questions. This applies in any language. If you have specific questions or comments, this is a daily live stream. Now, I will be back here tomorrow, and I do check the comments throughout the day from time to time. So please feel welcome to leave a question, whether it's related to A Course in Miracles or whether it's related to spirituality in general. You do not need to be a Course in Miracles student to profit handsomely and beautifully from these concepts. Why? Because it's universal spirituality. It applies to everyone, no matter what your religious background, no matter what tradition you're in. There's something here quite literally for everybody. All right. So thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in. And I hope to see you back here again tomorrow. This is a daily live stream. And have a great Friday. We'll talk to you all soon.